I'd like to bring the meeting to order, the Wilmington City Council. I'd like to welcome everyone that is here with us this evening and all those who are watching us at home. Thank you for taking an interest in your government. At this time, I'd like to introduce Sergeant Ron Evans, the chaplain of the Wilmington Police Department, come forward to give our invocation. If everyone will stand and remain standing afterwards for the Pledge of Allegiance. Sergeant, welcome.
Thank you. Let us pray. Most Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, a day that we have never seen before. We thank you for your continued grace and your mercy that you bestow upon us every day. We ask that you continue to cradle us in your arms and hold us close to your bosom. Continue to guide the hands, the heads, the minds, and the heart of our elected officials as they make the decisions that will be beneficial to the great citizens of this city. In your Son's precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we get started, I just want to say yesterday was a beautiful day, as it always is on Election Day. It's a beautiful part of our democracy that the citizens of our communities and our states and our nation can get out and vote, and that's what it's all about. And I appreciate all of those who took the time out of their schedule and their day to do their civic responsibility and vote. And I just want to say congratulations to those winners that are going to be sitting here with the City Council and working with some of the council members that are here, Salette Andrews, David Joyner, and of course Kevin Spears is also with us. And I just want to say congratulations for their win. They ran a very good race and did very good. So I just want to say congratulations, and we're looking forward to working with them in the coming year. So at this time, I'd like to recognize Mr. Josh Tucker of Novant Health, who will be making proclamation naming November 17, 2023 as World Prematurity Day. Recognize you right now. Come forward. Oh. Proclamation from the City of Wilmington reads, whereas families face serious health risk and Novant Health fights for their health by supporting research, leading programs, and providing education and advocacy, and whereas Novant Health is committed to amplifying the voices of pregnant people and families in North Carolina, and whereas Novant Health has worked extensively to improve access to prenatal care for all, increase awareness of the impacts of implicit bias on maternal health care, and raise awareness of the importance of optimal preconception health as a strategy to improve maternal health, reduce preterm birth, infant mortality, and maternal mortality. And whereas Novant Health will continue their work in the community to address the maternal and infant health crisis of prematurity, as well as the social determinants of health such as transportation and housing. Whereas the month of November is recognized as Prematurity Awareness Month, and November the 17th is recognized as World Prematurity Day to raise awareness. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Bill Saffo, Mayor of the City of Wilmington, North Carolina, on behalf of the Wilmington City Council, do hereby proclaim November the 17th, 2023 as World Prematurity Day in our community. And I just want to say thank you to all of your work there at Novant and what you're doing to help in this cause. So, Doc, here we go, Josh.
Good evening. My name is Josh Tucker. I am the administrator of the Women's and Children's Hospital, and with me I have Dr. Heather Davis, our Chief Medical Officer. And on behalf of Novant Health and our incredible teammates and providers who work tirelessly to care for these tiny patients, I want to thank you guys for recognizing how critical of an issue this is for our community and how important it is that we focus on maternal health and being able to provide remarkable care for all of these patients. And thank you all for your support.
Our next order of business is our consent agenda, items 1 through 6. Are there any items that any council member would like to hear separately? If not,
Yes,
what are
Mayor.
the wishes of council? Yes, sir, Mr. Anderson.
C4 and C5, please.
C4
Just
and
a couple
C5.
quick questions.
C4 and C5, okay. Anybody else? Okay, we have a motion to approve, Councilmember Barnett, second by Councilmember Anderson, C1 through 6 excluding 4 and 5. All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Item passes unanimously. At this time, I'd like to recognize Councilmember Anderson. Mr. Anderson?
C4 looks like police vehicles. Who's fleet?
John
Okay.
Fortune, our fleet manager, will come forward.
Okay. John, I think the way I read this, it's pretty clear, but I just want to understand kind of the future or your plan. So you use, these will be pickup trucks, I suppose, four-door pickup trucks.
That is
They'll-
correct,
They'll be
yes.
taking the place of some of your, I guess, most of what we've been using, Chargers, is that right?
Yes, they will. They will be replaced in a number of different vehicles.
Okay, but it said patrol cars, so that's, so it.
Yes, they will take the place of some patrol cars. That's
Okay.
correct.
And that's by preference or just really more, it sounds like just
It's
couldn't fi-
availability.
What's that?
Availability.
Okay,
These are being built and shipped to the dealership right now, and there's a lot of, excuse me, there's been a lot of issues with getting new vehicles ordered and not having them canceled.
gotcha. Well, I just wonder if we're going from optimal to, because usually we keep these things a long time, but you feel like this is just, I mean, just as good as the Chargers.
Yes,
So-
yes, the Chargers aren't being made anymore.
Well, more a sedan then, I guess I would use the term.
Currently, there's no sedans available that are pursuit rated.
Okay, so if they were available, I mean, like in the future, you think we're going to, I guess my question is,
Oh, yes,
are we
that
going
would
to all
be-
pickup trucks?
We
You know-
wouldn't transition to all pickup trucks. I'm sure that we would look at SUVs, and if there are other options that came available, we would definitely consider those.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, thank you.
You mentioned that there were no other, like sedans out there that were pursuit qualified?
Correct.
Are these trucks that way?
Yes, yes. All
I'll be
these
darned.
trucks are pursuit rated, yes. This is the
Thank you.
first year for the Chevys to be pursuit rated.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Anderson, you want to make the motion, or you want,
Do you want to do them both at once, or?
or you want
One
to
at
do,
a time?
you want to do both of them? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, C5 is, just a quick question for whoever that would be, same. And for me, it would be, I mean, you won't have to please me much longer, but just a little more explanation sometimes with these things, just prevent this question.
Absolutely.
It's pretty obviously carry some people around, but I mean, how are they used? How are these vans typically used?
These are used to carry Special Olympics team around, and they also shuttle some students from time to time.
Okay, so it's like after-school programs,
After-school
camps,
programs.
things like that?
Correct, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll move 4 and 5.
Okay, we have a motion to approve, Councilman Anderson, second by Mayor Pro Tem Haynes. Discussion, all in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Item passes unanimously. That brings us to our next item of business. It's public information. We have Mr. Michael Walker. I believe that Mr. Walker was scheduled to speak, but withdrew his name to speak, I believe. Is that correct, Ms. Penny? Thank you. So we'll go on to public hearings. First item is PH1, which is an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of Wilmington to rezone property located at 3803 Peachtree Avenue and 3802 Park Avenue from RB Regional Business to MD 17 High Density Multiple Dwelling Residential District. And at this time, I'd like to recognize our city manager, Mr. Caudle. Mr. Caudle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening to you, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. Nicole Smith, our senior planner, will overview this item for us.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council. The proposal before you this evening includes 2 parcels containing approximately .99 of an acre. The site is located north of Peachtree Avenue, west of Floral Parkway, and south of Park Avenue. This map provides context and highlights the site location. To the right of the slide are images of the subject site's existing conditions. This slide illustrates the existing development within the vicinity. This slide provides context to the built environment. The majority of the area is developed with non-residential land uses, with the exception of a single dwelling unit located south of the site with Peachtree Avenue frontage and a vacant property east of the request, also fronting Peachtree Avenue. The request before you this evening is to rezone the subject site from regional business to MD17, high-density multiple dwelling residential district. This is a general rezoning, therefore there is not a site plan nor conditions affiliated with this request. The site is located near commercial services and uses, including a grocer. The proposed MD17 zoning promotes redevelopment in a way that maintains or enhances the desired character of the surrounding area, improves access to goods, services, and amenities, increasing housing options, and improves overall quality of life. This chart provides analysis of the uses permitted by right, as well as under prescribed conditions for both the current RB zoning as well as the proposed MD17 zoning districts. While this is not a conditional rezoning, there are certain assurances that will be provided per code that are enforced during the technical review of the project. This table identifies the dimensional standards for the proposed MD17 as well as the current RB zoning districts. If this rezoning is approved, redevelopment will require a 20% open space allocation. Site plan approval would be further contingent upon compliance with architectural design standards, minimum setbacks, maximum density, and maximum lot coverage. The site is located within an urban mixed-use center as well as a high-density transition area of opportunity on the Comprehensive Plan's Growth Strategies map. Multiple dwelling residential development with no density cap is permitted within the current RB zoning under the commercial district mixed-use standards, with the addition of a minimal 5% commercial gross floor area allocation. The proposal before you this evening results in a decrease in both AM and PM estimated peak hour trips than the potential build-out under the current RB zoning. Further, the comprehensive plan supports increased densities with infill development near major commercial services. Staff believes the proposed zoning amendment is consistent with the recommendations of the Create Wilmington Comprehensive Plan and that the request is reasonable and in the public interest. Staff recommends approval. Planning Commission also unanimously recommended approval following their October 4th public hearing. This concludes staff's presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. The applicant is also available.
So any questions, staff? Thank you. At this time, I'd like to recognize the applicant. Pete?
Hello, Mayor Sefo, Mayor Pro Tem, members of City Council. My name is Walter Pete Avery. I'm representing the owner, GBT Acquisitions, LLC, and McKinley Dean Dahl. For all the reasons she just spoke to, I don't know, I can add a lot to what's already been said. This comes with a 5-0 recommendation by the Planning Commission, support of the planning staff. I've got a really long-winded presentation here. I don't know that you want to hear all that, but I can give you a Cliff Notes version of it, probably be better, or I can answer any questions. Because it is general use, we can't talk about what's going to be built there. We're limited by the zoning that you apply to it and the restrictions of that zoning classification. At some point, we'll still have to design a building of some sort and go through the TRC process. So we're not asking for conditional use zoning at this point in time. We can do similar projects under RB, regional business, but in this particular case, that doesn't fit well with this property. First and foremost, it requires about 20% commercial usage within the building, whatever that multifamily building is, but you get unlimited density, but you can't do a lot of units because the property is so small and so narrow. So given that, commercial activity at that spot is probably not necessary. There's a lot of vacancies in the general area. Over at, Hanover Center, obviously the mall has lots of storefronts available, and there's some up and down Oleander Drive. We believe the request is consistent with your Create Wilmington Land Use Plan. Don't know that we can add anything other than that. We are consistent, and we got support of staff and support of your planning commission. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Avery? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Avery.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. This time, I will open up the public hearing and ask if anyone in the public wishes to speak in favor or in opposition to item PH1. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, have you received any commentary or any emails?
No, sir, I have not.
Okay. Are there any further questions from council? Comments?
Comments, I just say I applaud this. I think so many times, there's been a few, I think of, I won't be able to name I've talked about this with Linda and Brian after the meeting Monday, but the CDMU, is that what it's called? The one out at, I think the Maynard Tribute Company did it across from the Mayfair entrance. I thought that was really well done, but a lot of these that we've done have turned out just to be empty spaces, these little tiny little empty spaces because there's no parking, no function. And I think this is a smart move. And also I've talked to a few of those developers, and we're actually driving the price up by doing that of the residential, which we're all talking about housing affordability, because they know they can't get rents for that they need to pay the bill, so they just make everything above it more expensive. So I just need to be, I mean, there's places where that will work, but they're a lot fewer, I think, than what we thought there were when we came out with that CDMU, whatever zoning classification. So I applaud this one. Thanks.
Okay. I'm going to close the public hearing and ask for the wishes of council. I also note that whoever made the motion, which is Councilmember Barnett, must read a consistency statement for the record. Mr. Barnett?
Thank you, sir. I move to approve the proposed amendment to rezone property located at 3803 Peachtree Avenue and 3802 Park Avenue from RB Regional Business District to MD 17 High Density Multi-Dwelling Residential District, and finding to be consistent with the relevant policies in the comprehensive plan, based on the application materials and the information provided at the public hearing and in the staff report, and to find approval of the rezoning request is reasonable and in the public interest for the following reasons. The proposed rezoning would allow for additional residential density near existing commercial services and provide an appropriate transition between an existing commercial center and the surrounding residential neighborhood.
Okay. All right. All ready to vote? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously on first reading. Is there a motion to waive second reading? Motion made by Councilmember, I'm going to say, Mayor Pro Tem Hayes, second by Mr. Waddell. All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously on first as well as second reading. That brings us to our next item of business, which is item PH2, which is an ordinance amending the Land Development Code, Chapter 18, for various amendments and cleanup items related to the dimensional and design requirements in the UMX and CBD districts, allowable setback encroachments, and corrections to section numbering. At this time, I'd like to recognize our city manager, Mr. Cottle. Mr. Cottle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Linda Painter, our planning director, will overview this item for us.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. This item is part of our quarterly amendment package. As you know, when we adopted the Land Development Code in December 2021, we committed to doing regular updates to address any errors and difficulties that we have found during implementation. The package before you this evening contains 6 amendments, one of which, Amendment 3 in your case summary, is simply correcting section numbering that we noticed was off as we were processing these other amendments. Most of the amendments I'm going to describe for you this evening relate to the UMX and CBD zoning districts, particularly in terms of improving consistency between the standards in those districts. And then we do have a couple of cleanup items related to transitional buffers and encroachments into allowable setbacks. The first amendment in your package addresses fenestration requirements on lots with multiple frontages. Fenestration is the arrangement, proportion, and design of openings, mainly windows and doors, on a building facade. So presently in the UMX district, if you have a lot with more than 2 frontages, such as the one that's shown in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, you are required to do 50% fenestration on all street-facing facades. So in that example, on 16th Street, Martin Street, and 15th Street, each facade would have to have a minimum of 50% fenestration in the UMX district. However, in the Central Business District, or CBD, we would allow you on one of those secondary frontages, either 15th Street or Martin Street, to reduce that fenestration requirement down to 30%. Since we provide that flexibility in the CBD, staff is recommending that we amend the UMX requirements to apply the same standard both within the CBD and the UMX district.
Quick
Linda,
question.
we have a question here from Mr. Waddell. Mr. Waddell?
Just for clarification, the 50% fenestration and 30% fenestration, that's the 50% of what? So
The building facade itself.
okay, so 50% of the building facade on the frontage?
On the frontage.
And then 50% of that would have to be windows?
Windows, doors.
Doors, and then now we're taking that to 30?
We're taking it to 30 on one of those secondary streets, which is the same provision that we allow for in the CBD.
Thank you.
The second amendment before you also relates and is attempting to bring standards into alignment between the UMX and the CBD districts. And this relates to screening of surface parking lots. So presently in the CBD district, we have a requirement that parking at street level be screened from public streets by permanent walls, shrubbery, or hedges at least 3 feet in height, but not more than 5 feet in height. The same provision would apply in the UMX district if this is approved. So skipping Amendment 3, which was numbering, as I mentioned, the fourth amendment deals with one of those corrections. In this case, it's to transitional buffers. In the UMX district, you'll see in the table on the center of your screen that we require a minimum setback for side or rear yards of 5 feet when you're abutting a single dwelling residential district. However, in another section of the code, we require a minimum transitional buffer width of 6 feet. Given that there's only 1 foot of difference there, what we are proposing is that the Technical Review Committee be authorized to reduce that transitional buffer in those instances from 6 feet to 5 feet so that we're not asking a developer to come to an additional foot. Amendment number 5 also deals with parking facility setbacks in both the UMX and CBD district. In this case, what's shown on your screen is actually a project at the corner of 3rd and Wooster that you approved a few months ago. And it is a multifamily, actually it has multifamily and commercial uses and integrated structured parking. However, this project was required to get a variance because our standards require parking facilities to have minimum setbacks from the right-of-way and from block corners. And as we looked at that standard, it was something that, given the intensity that we are permitting in the CBD and the UMX and the need for structured parking to support that intensity, we believe that we need to make an adjustment. And so the proposed amendment would only apply those setback requirements to surface parking lots. And parking structures would no longer be subject to those setback requirements from rights-of-way. Amendment number 6, this was an omission. If you see the green highlighted cell in the table, we inadvertently omitted the allowable front encroachment for eaves, roof overhangs, and similar appurtenances, and so the proposal is simply to insert a numeral 3 into that empty cell, which is consistent with the same encroachment that we allow for side street, side interior, and rear setbacks. And that is it. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Mr. Rappaport?
Ms. Painter, these 6 or 5, how did they come to you for a second look?
So some of them were staff initiated. So for example, the parking setback, again, that was something that we realized when we were seeing parking structures needing to seek variances, that it was something that we needed to adjust. I believe a couple of them were raised by developers. They were going through the process and saying, you know, here, why is it that in the CBD I could get a lower fenestration, but I can't do that in the UMX as well.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? Okay.
Great.
Thank you, Linda. We'll open the public hearing. If anybody has a comment or question about item PH2, please come forward and State your name for the record. I will open up the public hearing at this time. Madam Clerk, have you received any additional comments?
No, sir, I have not.
Any additional comments or questions from council? Sir, Mr. Waddell?
Just, this is just general for the code cleanup policy. We do that twice a year, 4 times a year?
4 times.
4 times a year schedule, so it's quarterly. And then what is it's just because I get this question a lot from the private sector. What's I know there's staff initiated and then there's, I guess, outside initiated requested changes. What's the timeline on those? Are they under different time schedules on when they have to have those requests in to you?
So private amendments are also accepted quarterly. With staff initiated, there is some more flexibility because we can, while we commit to doing them quarterly for cleanup, we can also bring amendments
At any time.
anytime.
So if they're, I guess they're coming from the, you said a couple of these were from the private sector that had brought them to you, that would be done, they bring them to you, and then just knowing that they could come up if they were to be accepted, then that would be done on a quarterly basis.
Yes, it's done on a quarterly basis as questions arise. Typically, they come up during the development review process, and someone will say, why this? And if it's something that makes sense, staff will basically add it to our list. We keep a running list of amendments that we need for the next cycle as those issues come up.
Again, that's mostly for my edification on this process, because I know we put a lot of emails back and forth, and just so I can make sure I'm understanding as we move forward that it is quarterly, and I can relay that information to people appropriately. Thanks.
And we're happy to provide application deadlines for anyone who's seeking to submit an amendment.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. I will close the public hearing. As for the wishes of council, we'll also indicate that whoever makes the motion, Mr. Waddell, looks like you've made the motion. Let's read a consistency statement for the record.
I move to approve the amendments to the Land Development Code and find it to be consistent with the relevant policies in the comprehensive plan based on the application materials and the information provided at the public hearing and the staff report, and to find approval of the request is reasonable and in the public interest for the following reasons. The proposed changes will correct issues uncovered during implementation of the new Land Development Code.
Okay. All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passed unanimously on first reading. Is there a motion to waive second reading? Motion made by Councilmember Rivenbark, second by Councilmember Waddell. Discussion. All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passed unanimously on first as well as second reading. Brings us to our next item of business, which is our ordinances. We have 3 ordinances that will be accompanying this one ordinance, which is item 01A, which is the ordinance making the supplemental appropriation in the amount of $373,092 to the Holly Tree Road at South College Road intersection improvement project. And then we have item 01B, which is the ordinance making the supplemental appropriation in the amount of $165,763 to the Market Street at 21st Street Hawk Signal project. And then 01C, which is the resolution authorizing the award of a construction contract in the amount of $815,191 to Morgan Trucking and General Construction Incorporated of Charlotte, North Carolina for the Holly Tree Road at South College Road intersection improvements and the Market Street at the 21st Street Hawk Signal project. This time I'd like to recognize our City Manager, Mr. Caudle. Mr. Caudle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Denise Freund, our Assistant Director of Engineering, will overview and hopefully untangle this item for you.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of council. As the mayor indicated, before you tonight is a resolution authorizing award of a construction contract for $815,191.23 to Morgan Trucking and General Construction. That is for 2 projects under a single contract. It's the Holly Tree Road at South College Road intersection improvements, and then a separate project, 21st Street and Market Street Hawk Signal. There are appropriation ordinances for both projects, one for the Holly Tree Road at South College Road intersection improvements projects for $373,092, and a second appropriation for the Market Street at 21st Hawk Signal project for $165,763. These projects are primarily funded through WMPO-administered grant programs, including the Surface Transportation Block Grant Direct Attributable Program, as well as the Transportation Alternatives Set-Aside Direct Attributable Program. We're expecting to begin construction early next year following NCDOT concurrence of the construction contract award and contract execution, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do we have any questions, comments? So the Hawk Light at 21st Street, which is something that we've been talking about. Mr. Anderson, you've been talking about this one since you've been here. But I know, but I just want to ask, yeah, I understand. The Hawk Light will be across, you'll have an arm where it'd be like a stoplight, like they have it, I guess, down at Rice Beach there at the Banks Channel Bridge, as opposed to the side where a lot of people don't see it.
That's correct.
Okay. And it will be activated as somebody comes up to the light, they push the button, and it will turn it from.
That is my understanding, but I'm going to ask Dennis Volkanowicz, the city traffic engineer, to come forward. He's a little more versed on the Hawk signals than I am.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean.
So yeah, the Hawk signal, it'll be erected over the roadway. Pedestrian, it'll be the same activation by a pedestrian at any other intersection. They come up, hit the button, it goes through a series of flashing yellow to a steady yellow to a steady red, and the drivers stop at that point.
So when it's not activated, would it just be green?
It's completely dark.
Completely dark,
Yep.
so it's only activated when an individual comes to
Correct.
the
Yep.
cross-section.
If there's no pedestrian there, then vehicle drivers just drive down the road as normal.
Just out of curiosity, because I know you engineers are always looking at the data, in respect to people running those things, the data, what does it say?
I mean.
I know
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
because safety's an issue, and,
Sure.
I don't want anybody to get hurt or
I
killed over
don't
there.
have the data in front of me, but I know that the Hawk signal in Riceville Beach was studied about 5 years after its implementation, but I don't remember offhand what the efficiency, the effectiveness of that. It is a high percentage, and it's much higher than the rapid flashing beacons like we've got at 3rd and Ann. Because it's over the road, because it has a red indication, it makes more sense to the drivers.
Will we put some sort of a signage on, as those individuals walk across, that the police look both ways, just to make certain that people are paying attention? Because I know it's coming downhill from the National Cemetery, and people pick up speed there sometimes, and sometimes they're looking, and sometimes they're on their phone texting. Okay.
Unfortunately.
Very good. All right. Yeah, they are. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you. All right. Meredith, we can just take these one at a time?
Yes, sir, as long as you take separate votes on all three.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and start with 01A, which is the ordinance making the supplemental appropriation in the amount of $373,092 to the Holly Tree Road and South College Road intersection improvement. What are the wishes of council? We have a motion approved by Councilmember Barnett, second by Councilmember Ravenbart. Discussion, all in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item passes unanimously on first reading. Is there a motion to waive second reading? Motion made by Councilmember Anderson, second by Councilmember Waddell. Discussion, all in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item passes unanimously on first as well as second reading. Now let's go to item 01B, which is the ordinance making the supplemental appropriation in the amount of $165,763 to the Market Street at 21st Street Hawk Signal Project. What are the wishes of council? We have a motion approved by Mayor Pro Tem Haynes, second by Councilmember Anderson. Discussion, all in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item passes unanimously on first reading. Is there a motion to waive second reading? Motion made by Councilmember Waddell, second by Councilmember Ravenbart. Discussion, all in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Item passes unanimously on first as well as second reading. And that brings us to the last item, which is item 01C, which is the resolution authorizing the award of the construction contract in the amount of $815,191 to Morgan Trucking and General Construction Incorporated of Charlotte, North Carolina for the Holly Tree Road at South College Road intersection improvements and Market Street at 21st Street Hawk Signal Project. What are the wishes of council? We have a motion approved by Councilmember Anderson, second by Councilmember Waddell. Discussion. All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Item passes unanimously.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Could I ask, when can we expect to see some activity on this? Now that we've done this?
Yeah.
So because there is direct attributable grant funding in both of these projects, the resolution that y'all approve tonight will go to NCDOT. They'll review the construction package as well, and they will issue what is called a concurrence of award. As soon as they issue the concurrence of award, then we can execute the contracts with the general contractor. I can't give you a definitive timeline on that, but we're hoping that would happen before the end of the year so that we could start the contract execution early next year and get started.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to our next item of business, which is our resolutions. We have item R1, which is a resolution supporting the North Carolina Department of Transportation's application to the United States Department of Transportation for the Bridge Investment Program to replace the Cape Fear Memorial Bridge. At this time, I'd like to recognize the City Manager, Mr. Caudle. Mr. Caudle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Abby Lorenzo, the Assistant Director of the Wilmington Area MPO, will address this item.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. The item before you for consideration is a resolution supporting the North Carolina Department of Transportation's application to the United States Department of Transportation's Bridge Investment Program for the replacement of the Cape Fear Memorial Bridge. This discretionary grant program, which was introduced with the 2021 bipartisan infrastructure law, is intended to fund replacement, rehabilitation, preservation, and protection type projects for existing bridges. Eligible bridge projects include those in poor or at-risk condition, bridges not meeting current design standards, and bridges unable to meet current and future capacity demands. The Cape Fear Memorial Bridge was constructed in 1969 and is considered functionally obsolete, meaning it does not meet current design standards. Major rehabilitation projects costing $15 million plus are becoming necessary more frequently, including one scheduled for 2024. Furthermore, the bridge serves more than 60,000 vehicles per day, including freight traffic for the Port of Wilmington. Forecasts estimate that daily traffic will exceed 94,000 vehicles by 2050. While a highly competitive grant program, selected projects are eligible to receive funding of up to 50% of total project cost. Applications are due by November 27th, 2023 for fiscal years 23 and 24 funding. Award announcements are expected in the spring of 2024, and I would be happy to answer any questions anyone might have at this time.
Any questions for Abby? Okay. Well, thank you. I think we have Mr. Anderson.
No, I mean, this came up at our MPO meeting, I don't know when it was, last week of last month, and surprised to us, but super exciting news, obviously. And we have per Chad, we have, who's our, I guess, what do you call it, district, whatever district we are at, we have a pretty good chance. And you can apply multiple times, and it also helps drive up the points you would get with the state. And what I would, y'all heard most of that Monday. I don't know that the public did, but the thing I want to reiterate is this is going to be this may come a little faster than we think, which is a great thing, but it's only going to be a basic bridge. So kind of like we did with our overpasses, the city manager, county manager, Brunswick County, where everybody's going to have to start to get their heads together and try to, instead of having all of a sudden it's here one day, I don't know when that point is, it may not be today, but sooner than later, putting a little money aside to make that thing a little prettier than just your basic average bridge that the DOT is going to give us. And I would also say that the money that we have for the overpasses that are getting built in the next 8 to 9 years, I guarantee they have, the facade, we picked the brick facades and I can't remember the different facades and lighting and rails. I imagine that's been outrun by a good distance, and that's right around the corner. So as you do the budget, I would just say take a look at that.
Okay. All right, ready to vote on this? Okay. What are the wishes of council in respect to the resolution. We have a motion to approve by Mayor Pro Tem Haynes, second by Councilmember Waddell. Discussion, all in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Item passes unanimously. That brings us to our next item of business, which are our reports. Item RP1, Council's Naming Facilities Committee, and at this time, I'd like to recognize Councilmember Clifford Barnett, who will give us the report.
Thank you. On October the 17th, the City Council met the naming committee, and we brought forth to the council 3 possible names for the 929 North Front Street building. The names were City Center, City Plaza, and Skyline. Mayor, you were not present at the time, and you had asked that we might hold our discussions until you were able to be a part of that. And so that's what we're trying to do today. We came up with those 3 suggestions, and perhaps someone said in our discussion at the last meeting that maybe we could get some names from others, you know, but this is an opportunity for us as we represents a great project that we bought for the Wilmington taxpayers. And so we want to provide a forever home a name for this forever home. And therefore, we're presenting 3 names, City Center, City Plaza, and Skyline to be discussed.
So I know that the naming committee is yourself and Mrs. Haynes and, of course, Mr. Reinbart.
Yes, sir.
And so these are the names that have come up. And of course, one of the things that I also want to, which is a little quirky, I know that the city offices are all going to be moving down to that new building. And in many cases, the public is going to always look at it as City Hall or something like that. But we're also, because of the fact that we're also leasing a certain amount of space within that building, there's been a discussion in respect to a name for the actual building from that perspective, from the people that are doing the marketing for us, indicating that they'd like to have a name besides just City Hall, and I get that side of it too. So I think the committee has come up with some good names here, and so I'm going to kind of put it out there and see what everybody kind of thinks. Okay, Mr. Anderson? Okay. Ms. Haynes?
I will say, we do want it to say Wilmington City Hall, in big letters, and I think we've seen a picture of that. So I don't want the public to think we're not going to call it City Hall. So this would be, in addition to that, this would be what they call a monument sign, I guess, out front, similar to the Thermo Fisher sign that was there. So it will also say Wilmington City Hall up over the front door.
Yes, sir. Ms. Reinbart?
I was pulling up to the county office building today, coming up Racine, and then turning on the Government Center Road, and that on the front of their building, the frontage that faces Eastwood Road, they've got, across that whole top, New Hanover County Administration.
Government Center.
Government, so you can't miss that. Yeah. And that says what it is. Of course, that whole building is New Hanover County. And I know that everybody's got an opinion on this, and I'm no different. I just, talking to some of the people that are doing the marketing, they were looking at the 3 names that we've come up with for marketing purposes, and they felt like the one that shied away from City Center, City Plaza, would give it more of an identity and attract clients or attract tenants if it had that besides the city. It is a city building. It is I'll go either way because and I'm not saying all these things to say that we've got to give it a name tonight, but I would like to do that and see it. And for those reasons, I really felt real comfortable with the Skyline because, it is the top of the Skyline. And when we redid 3rd Street and spent all that money, the big push on that, that's our new gateway into the city. It used to be Market Street or 17 coming in, but we spent a lot of money to beautify that, and that is the gateway into our city. So that area, whether it likes it or not, is going to be called the gateway. And there'll probably be more than one thing, something at the gateway, and this just gives it a little more of its own identity. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reinbart. Mr. Anderson?
Clifford, did you want to go first, or you want?
Oh, I was either City Center or City Plaza. I'm fine with either one of those. So, City-
Well, I would just, and obviously, that's the committee. We weren't part of the debate, so we're getting in on it now. So y'all probably had some of these battles already. But one, just from definition, it's not in the center of the city. There, if you look up a definition of a plaza, unless we're going to create one, there's no real plaza outside or a garden or open space or what have you. So I tend to, when I come home from Furniture Market after 10 nights, the first thing I see coming down 74 is that building, and know I'm home. And it's the skyline. It is, that the Murchison building used to be in the steeples, and now, I think of a lot of times we've seen logos with our steeples, and I just like I like the skyline. I don't know if it's City Hall at Skyline Towers, City Hall at Skyline Center, or whatever. Charlie just came up with one on the fly. Gateway. I don't know, but of the three that I had before me at the time, I just think Skyline really suits it, and do totally agree that, certainly over the top of the front of the building, wherever, City Hall needs to be part of it. But I agree, I can imagine, if you're trying to market those other floors and lease them, I think having a secondary name is a positive. But of the three, that's the one I like the most personally. Something to do with Gateway might be another option, but I hadn't pondered it until I just heard it. So, thank you.
Anybody else?
I guess I'm just kind of coming in new to this as well, and trying to understand exactly, I know we're naming the building, I understand that, but will this, other than in marketing material, will this be affixed to the building in some form or fashion? Where?
Well, I think it'll be on that monument sign.
Okay, so it will be on the monument sign out front where it used to say Thermo Fisher. Okay.
And I think that would be where it would have the name of the building in big letters or whatever, some different type, and then it would have the tenants, the major tenants and whatever, and there's some idea that maybe there would be some smaller recognition of that somewhere else. I don't know, but this would be on
smaller recognition of the name?
monument sign, is
So-
my understanding. That's right.
So some smaller recognition of the tenants would be on the monument sign?
Absolutely.
Okay. I still have the floor. Do we have signage requirements in our land development code for how large verbiage can be on signage? And if so, what does that look like?
We do have requirements, and I'm going to call on Mr. McEwen to come forward and give us a summary of those requirements. While he's coming forward, we have yet to work out exactly which signs will be what size, but it'll be within these limitations.
Is there an existing monument sign?
Yes.
Yes.
So we wouldn't be affixing it to the existing monument sign? Would we be building another one?
There's an existing monument sign out in front on
Right.
Front Street. There is a variance that was issued to River Ventures a couple of years back that increased the square footage to 800 square feet for attached signs up to 2 signs to the building. So the freestanding signs that's existing is not subject to that 800 square foot limitation.
Freestanding sign would be the monument sign?
Correct, out front.
But the attached to the building would be where they used to have the name actually affixed to the building up high?
Correct.
Okay, all right, but
When the PPD letters were up there, I think it was around 200 square foot cap. Then, obviously, when Thermo Fisher purchased it, they more letters, more square footage. They went to the Board of Adjustments and got it increased to 800, but never actually put the sign up.
But there's no rules with the monument sign, we just got to fit it on the sign, basically? Because the
Correct.
monument sign.
My understanding is the existing monument sign is compliant, and it's basically a blank canvas for us to use how we see fit.
Okay. Yeah, That's just something that crossed my mind. Thank you.
Chad, don't go too far. I remember seeing a drawing, this came to governance briefly until we kicked it to naming, so I saw a few renderings and such, and there was some signage in one of those that I recall. It was like over the first floor front entrance was kind of a city hall kind of sign. Is that, I mean, we can do that without
Correct.
having to?
In the staff's understanding of kind of the points of agreement regarding the signage for the building, Wilmington City Hall over the main Front Street entrance. And then along the southern entrance in the middle of the first floor, where you come in and you'd go left to go to the conference area, there would be a very similar sign over that area of the building.
Very similar City Hall sign?
Wilmington City Hall, correct.
Okay.
Because those are essentially the two entrances to the building.
And that's the first floor is our, what do you want to call it? Most of our customer
Our
facing stuff.
core area,
Yeah,
yes, sir.
All right.
On the very top ribbon of that thing, there was going to be the city logo, and that would show for miles. I think that's important for that to be there.
Yeah, that,
Getting a nod from you guys? Yes.
And our intention would be to put the logo sign on the top of the building.
Represent the city at the Board of Adjustment on that one.
Do we?
I actually spoke to Jared today about it. He's working on that with a couple different sign vendors to provide us with some renderings of what the sign above, as well as the signs, the Wilmington City Hall signs on the side of the building, first floor, would be.
Did you say Jared's doing that?
Yes, ma'am. Jared's working with a sign company.
Oh,
He's
okay.
coordinating that with a sign company,
Okay.
the renderings.
We had renderings before. Where'd they go?
We had in-house renderings, and I think the feedback was we wanted a little bit more detail of exactly how it was going to look.
So in other words, tonight's just name is what you're looking for, and all that other stuff is to be determined.
I'm sorry, what was that? Yes.
Tonight is just name.
Correct.
All the rest is just to be determined at this point. Because
you
I mean,
decide on-
this council and most I've been on always show us a picture. So, you know, just talking about this thing is not terribly,
We just didn't want to bring you a picture that had the wrong name in it.
Correct.
well, I know, but it helps us discuss where things go and what, you know, all that.
If you will give us a name, we'll give you a rendering.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, hold on. Mr. Waddell?
I'm still confused. So the name, if we were to vote on any of these three names tonight and decide what we're going to name this building, that name would be affixed to the monument sign, as well as affixed to the top of the building, like, okay, just the monument sign, and then in marketing materials, likely we'll have some sort of City of Wilmington-centric large sign at the top as a beacon or something. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. That is correct. You're not confused.
Not anymore.
The only thing we're deciding tonight is what's going to go on the top of that monument sign. That's it.
Ms. Haynes?
Well, my concern is that the taxpayers are paying for this, so it seems to me that we should have the word city even on the monument sign. And in talking with, you know, I don't know a lot of these commercial guys like you do, but no one I've spoken to objects to that. I did look up the synonyms for some of these words. So, the two synonyms for skyline, one is outline and one is horizon, which don't really mean anything about a building. Then the synonyms for plaza, there are a bunch of them: square, atrium, forecourt. I don't even know what some of them mean. Peristyle, I never heard of it. Terrace, courtyard, place, deck, patio, quadrangle, you know. So it's about a place. So it seems to me, I mean, I like City Plaza. I think it's kind of classy. It says that the city owns it. That's just my preference. I think we ought to recognize the city taxpayers.
Okay, Mr. Rodenbach?
Well, I mean, for God's sakes, it's going to have, where you can see for miles, the city of Wilmington. And if it has the beehive on it, or it just has our beautiful spelled out Wilmington logo, on top of the front entrance, it's going to have City Hall. On the courtyard entrance, or whatever that is, that slate area, it's going to have City of Wilmington City Hall. And on the monument sign, it would say something at the top, and as one of the tenants, it could say City Hall again. I mean, you could mention 4 times that it's city property, City Hall, city admin. We're trying to attract tenants, and that's why I'm kind of holding fast with giving it some identity other than just City Hall. Hell, everybody knows City Hall.
Mr. Anderson?
Well, I had done that earlier today, Margaret, not the synonyms, but just the definition, and it's a public square, marketplace, or similar open space in a built-up area. So I just envision, I remember going to say, they're long gone, but the towers, the Twin Towers and all that area in between them, or areas like that where it's open in between 2 places, but that's just my vision of it. I guess my question, and it may be, let's just down the road, maybe it's just something that comes up and you deal with it then, and it's part of variance and all that, but suppose a day comes and we get it, we are lucky enough to get some corporate, somebody takes everything that we don't have, and we're really sharing a building. Would they also be able to put, a pretty decent sign along the skyline, along the top as well? Is that, it's permitted certainly out in, say, Mayfair, but I don't know if those rules apply to that part of town. In other words, say, let's just use PPD. Right. Another PPD comes along one day. Hey, we want 6, the floors y'all don't have. We want to move here. But we want a sign, that says, this is where we are. Is that?
And I would defer to Madam Attorney, but my understanding is any sign that is affixed to that building is subject to that 800 square foot as it exists right now.
So it'd be a variance situation.
City sign or a tenant sign, all those would have to fall under that 800 as it exists.
Even where it says City Hall on the first floor? Well, that needs to be just go ahead and get addressed, because you're going to run out of space, aren't you?
We're internally discussing options about.
I'm not wanting to placard signs all over the dang thing. I'm not saying that, but somebody says I want 4 floors or something one day, they're going to say, hey, So anyway.
Not to beat a dead horse, but the campus there, which I don't want to call it a campus, I'm sorry, because that makes it sound like it's part of the community college. The area that we bought there does in fact have a plaza between the visitor parking and the front door is a big, it's got these big gigantic cement squares, and it really actually is a plaza. They've got some trees planted out there, I think in planters, and some picnic tables and different stuff, so it actually does have a plaza, but, y'all.
Mr. Barnett.
Yeah. How does city skyline sound? They put city, I don't know. I'm just.
It says nothing. It's not a building. City skyline. Where is it? It's not a building. It's not that.
Okay.
City horizon.
Well, I think, and first I want to just say thank you to the naming committee, because I think the 3 names that y'all have brought us, believe it or not, are very good names. And this is a tough decision. And anytime you name anything, including kids, it's a tough decision at times. I think I tend to agree with Councilman Barnett that city should be part of it. I like City Plaza personally. I can see the skyline that Charlie indicated, because I've talked to some of the leasing agents that are helping us with this, and I understand their dilemma as to why they want to do it, and it makes a lot of sense. I think from my perspective, City Plaza, and I've talked to other people about it, still gives us that that Charlie was talking about, that if you wanted to rent it to somebody, it still gives it that, I think, but that's me. I mean, you could go a lot of different ways on this thing, but I think the three names you have come up with, all three names are good names, but I can tend to kind of gravitate toward the city, some kind of city name indicated. And I'm sure that if you opened up, there'd be tons of other names, but I like that one personally. Anyway, Mr. Reinbart?
Say it over and over about 10 times, City Hall at City Plaza, City Hall at City Plaza. It just doesn't, it's kind of, it's overdoing it. Anyway, we need to move on, you know. Well, I thought you did. Okay.
What are these motions that are
Well,
on our
I get-
screen?
I thought Neil had.
Consensus if possible, yes.
I think we're trying to get a consensus here, so I think what we'll do, we'll start off, if you want to, we can do it this way. I'll divert to you, Madam Attorney. I would like to just put up the name, and then we can take a vote for each one, and then we'll see. How about that? All right? Is that all right? Is that cool? Sure. All right. So we'll start off with Skyline. Who wants Skyline? We got, Charlie, I think we're just trying to raise your hand. So we got three. So there's only 6 of us, so that fails for 3, right? Okay. Who likes City Plaza? Okay. It's 3. So, and then who likes City Center? So we're at an impasse. Yeah, we got rid of one. So we got rid of City Center. City Center's gone. So now we're down to City Plaza and and Skyline.
I say Skyline, you gotta add something, like tower or building or something that's a place, you know.
I'll say this, and Charlie, for those of us who lived here, the Murchison Building to us that have lived here all our lives is the Murchison Building. As soon as they put the First Union Building, it was the First Union Building. 305 is 305. It's never been a building. The Harrelson Building, we name it, but it's city. So the community is going to gravitate to something. We have city offices there, and I get it. It's going to be City Hall. I guess going back to the marketing side of it, and we got 4 or 5 floors that we've got to lease out. That's where I think this is where this is kind of coalescing around, is what do you do to give them that? So I know the community is going to always say, we're going down to City Hall, that's where we're going to meet. And for those that are renting property, I'm in the Skyline Building, if you want to call it Skyline. I get it. So
It's a little sexier than City, whatever.
Here. No, I mean, I wouldn't just call it Skyline. I mean, you can, that was what was brought. That's all that was written on the document, so that was what I was voting for. But I mean, you'd be Skyline Tower or Skyline Building, take your choice. But, you know, it's going to be City Hall it's going to be City Hall at the front, on the front entrance. It's going to have Skyline Tower. It's going to say City Hall. It's going to have Thermo Fisher. It's going to say whatever. I don't know. But look, there's one more vote not here. I mean, we they'll decide it next time we convene. So, I mean.
Well, we can do that. We can defer this to the next meeting. We got 2 names, City Plaza and Skyline.
You can also refer it to your new council, since we are.
Well, I think this council made the decision, a tough decision to purchase this, and I think we need to make it. I would like for this council to make that decision, just on principle that you guys made a tough decision and a good decision, and I just think you ought to have the right to say it, whether you get your name or not. Either which way to me, it's going to be City Hall to the community. However you want to do it for marketing purposes, I can live with just almost about anything.
Are we losing money not naming it now?
Well, I think the sooner that we can get to it, it would be better.
Really, Cliff. But they're, I mean, the company that's doing it, they're famous for putting together, it's called a push package, and it's very in-depth, and it needs a name. But they're coming forward with proposals without that, so it's not like it's dead in the water. Okay.
I don't know, I'm sorry. We've hired someone to help market it. I haven't personally reached out to them, have any of us? I mean, to kind of give more of a explanation, because I'm just trying to think of, I don't know, you're some big law firm, maybe one day one of those big Charlotte law firms opens up down here, you know, and then they're like, well, are they more, does it make a difference? Is it somebody in that industry say, I'm in the Skyline Tower, or I'm in the city, you know, I'm the city hall? I mean, I don't know if it does or doesn't, but if it does, we need to consider it.
To one of the leasing agent, he indicated, you know, he thought that it would be important that we name it something besides City Hall for marketing purposes, and I agree with the concept, and he gave me the reasons why. It makes a lot of sense. I get that.
But he
It
was
does.
okay with naming it something with the word city in it.
He said he would be fine with that too, but, you know, Skyline, any of these names would be fine.
We'll push it to the next meeting, is that what we're doing?
Yeah, we might as well.
Move to continue.
Yeah, we'll move to continue. This will be, you know, announced at our next meeting.
With pictures?
Yeah. Yeah, can we get some pictures too, please?
We'll work on, yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, and so we'll have to, we're down to 2 names.
2 names.
Yeah, okay?
Okay.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anything else? All right. This concludes this regular agenda. Are there any items to be brought forward by city attorney,
No, sir.
city manager?
Mr. Mayor, I have a number of items I'd like to bring up with you. Hopefully, we'll handle those quickly. First of all, I'd like to have Rachel Lecoe stand. Rachel is our new Neighborhood and Housing Services Director. This is the department I snuck in on the council, tongue-in-cheek, actually. But Rachel came from a good field of candidates. You know her as a previous city employee, and prior to coming here, also a county employee. So we want to welcome Rachel. She's got monumental work ahead of her, but we know she's up to the task. So
Very
wanted
good.
to introduce her
Welcome.
tonight.
Welcome.
And we know who you are. Thank you. You do a great job. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Second item is we will be having the first work session of the new budget year on November 17th at 929 North Front Street. It will be on the 12th floor in the conference room area up there. It'll be November the 17th, Friday. We'll start at 8:30 and go from there. And then finally, I'd like to see if council would like to entertain a motion to waive the rules in order to consider an amendment to the schedule for council meetings. And if you would, then you certainly need to do so at the appropriate time.
Okay. Well, you want to do it now?
Certainly.
Okay, we're going to amend the rules to listen to.
Waive the rules.
I'll ask for the waiving of the rules. All in favor of that, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously. Mr. Manager.
As we mentioned at yesterday's workshop, or agenda briefing, we had noted that the second meeting in November was scheduled for November 21st during the holiday week. Since we have the ceremonial meeting as the first meeting in December, there is the possibility of moving the second meeting in November from the 21st to the 28th, thereby accommodating a couple of schedules of council members. But we wanted to see if council wanted to move it from the 21st to the 28th or leave it on the 21st.
Mr. Barnett?
I offer a motion that we move the meeting to the 28th.
Okay. And we have a second to that by Mayor Pro Tem Haynes. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's all I have extra tonight.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk? Mr. Waddell? Mr. Barnett?
Yeah. I too want to thank everybody for voting on yesterday. And then I also want to remind our citizens that this month we'll be celebrating the 1898 massacre. And there are a number of activities that will be happening across the city. And I hope that all of us take a part in just reflecting and making sure that as we reflect, you know, that we don't repeat history, but that as we reflect, we learn from it as well as grow to make our city the city that it needs to be. All right?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mayor Pro Tem? Mr. Rivenbark?
Yes, sir. This past Friday night, all 4 teams from New Hanover County won in the playoffs. And on, not Saturday morning, but on Sunday morning, 1 team was mentioned. And since then, there's not been one word in the Star News newspaper about it. And I'm gonna tell you something, you're a high school kid and you're doing, even if you lose, but they won. 3 of them are on the road, they all won. And it's a shame that they don't get more mention and more print than they do. But praise God, those kids are out there playing their butts off.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes, first, I want to thank all my supporters that helped during my trying to get elected this season. The folks that knocked on doors, the people that contributed money to run ads, the people that voted for me, the people that electioneered, all those folks, just a lot of energy, resources, and felt like ran a good, strong, clean campaign and came up a little short. And I just wanted to thank everyone for all those efforts and all that commitment. Use Margaret's term, our resident rules person. I'm going to take a point of personal privilege here. My daughter turned 16, and one of my fond memory I have going back with council, 2012, had these two guys over, and Samantha taught her aerobics, I think, on the floor. She was 4 years old, and or 4 or 5 years old, and I think Charlie even danced on the cocktail table with her. But good stuff. She was, and she's turned 16. She'll be embarrassed if she ever sees or hears about this, but that's pretty exciting stuff. The other thing along the lines of what Charlie just mentioned, the New Hanover High School women's tennis team won the Eastern Region a week ago Monday, just destroyed Broughton High School in Raleigh. They didn't even have to play doubles. But then they went to the state championship, and it was, I don't know that there's ever been a bigger robbery. In the last singles match, one of the gals called something out with her finger, which is very common in the game of tennis, and met with the other player at center court and discussed it, and they moved on. They played 2 more points. She had actually won the match, and some USTA official came out and said, we're going back to 8-8. Nobody's ever heard of that. So then we were faced with winning all 3 doubles matches. We won 2 of the 3, so we lost 4-5. So that ruling lost the state title, and I don't recall it. Y'all may help me, but I don't know. We've had baseball and football up here, but I think we haven't had a whole lot of women's sports, and I think it's very, it would be great to have them down here. Jennifer and Ed Coleman, and they have some other coaches just do an incredible job with that program. They've been to the state semis 4 years ago, too. So maybe recognizing them at some point in the next couple meetings, I think would be appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Lastly, I just want to say, myself and Councilmember Waddell did a ride-along with Chief Donnie Williams the other night, Friday night. And I just want to tell you that the men and women of the Wilmington Police Department do an outstanding job for the amount of calls they get. And, you know, as myself and Councilman Waddell and anybody else on this council would like to have the opportunity to really get down into the weeds and to see what these people do on a day in and day out basis is outstanding. And if you want to learn about your police department, you want to know about your fire department, you want to know what these people do on a day in and day out basis, get in the car with them, go see them, because they will show you. And they're proud of what they do. And I saw a wreck there on Market Street with 4 cars. Luckily, nobody got killed. And how many people were there involved in cleaning that place up and getting people out off the street in a safe environment, and just the patrol divisions and everybody that's out there day in and day out risking their lives to protect this community. And I just want to say, keep up the good work, and we're here to support these men and women that do an outstanding job every single day for our community. So with that, thank you for taking an interest in your government. We stand adjourned.